Hi everybody, it's Rachel. On my channel I talk about reading and writing. My cat is already poised to interrupt this entire production today. And I'm pretty sure I wore this t-shirt the last time that I filmed. But you know what? Within Temptation's legit, so we're gonna keep the band t-shirts going. Today is gonna be kind of a rambly sort of discussion. I wanna talk about why sometimes we dislike books that are genuinely good. Like books that like you finish it or you DNF it either way and you're like, you know what, that was good, but not for me. And, you know, kind of analyzing why that happens, especially in situations where we're even struggling to understand what about that book does our own taste not even align with. Because at the end of the day, like, if it's so good that you can say that it's good, but you still didn't like it, it's kind of weird, right? And it can be kind of frustrating when we find something that's popular. And, I mean, it can be frustrating enough when you find something that's popular that everyone else really likes and you just don't get it at all and you're like, yeah, this is actually kind of garbage. But it's also really frustrating when you're like, yeah, this is good, but I don't like it. So today I just kind of want to ramble a bit about like how and why this happens and my experiences with this kind of issue. I think part of the reason why we kind of overthink this so much is I feel like today a lot of us are familiar with ways to analyze literature, movies, whatever, and at least enough that we can pinpoint why we like or dislike something, and we can analyze the characteristics of a book to justify why we like it or not. So recently, I started reading the book The Devils by Joe Abercrombie, and I was so excited to read this book because I've never read Joe Abercrombie, because even though people say that he's really good, none of the synopses of his books really like grabbed me until The Devils. I thought that this one sounded really cool, and so I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna read my first Joe Abercrombie. Maybe I'm gonna love it. Oh my god. I got it from the library, and some things I noted right away. The writing is really solid. The characters are hilarious. Like, I was laughing out loud reading through some of the dialogue. The world building is really strong. I like that it doesn't feel like your typical, you know, medieval high fantasy. It's like not only a historical setting, it's a religious setting, and things are kind of changed for the fantasy world, obviously. And one thing I really liked and respected is like sometimes what we decide to change and not change about high fantasy can be really aggravating, especially from the feminine perspective, because like on one hand, okay, we're gonna alter history in our story, even though it's in a medieval setting. We're gonna add magic, we're gonna add dragons, you know, all this stuff. And then, you know, you still have the same social problems, like for example, women being treated like crap. And people are always like, but it's a time period. Initially, even my uneducated response to this was, we can change history to throw dragons in, but not to make women's lives a little bit better. Like, so there's that. And then the other thing is, you know, I've taken, like in grad school, I had an opportunity to study medieval literature, like hardcore. And, you know, my professor was an expert on medieval literature. And she was like, listen, the medieval period, particularly in England, because that's what we were studying, was not the best time to be a woman. But it also wasn't this horrific worst case scenario that some high fantasy writers make it sound like. So, I don't know. That's my side. I was happy that Joe Abercrombie wasn't falling into that. And to be honest, I can't think of anything particularly bad about this book. But here's what became a problem. That isn't a problem, but it was a problem for me. We have a ragtag group of characters that are on a journey. And there's a lot of these uniquely cozy moments between the characters, despite Joe Abercrombie's allegedly infamous grimdark style. Problem number one, I tend to not enjoy quests featuring a ragtag group of characters. If I'm reading a story and the characters are now going to have moments where they are, you know, off on this journey together, having a lot of banter and things like that, I tend to like it in settings where I already know the characters pretty well, so this is not a book one in the series thing for me. But I also really like books with a lot of characters where they all have to, like, split off on their own journeys, I feel like. So you're seeing each one's own interpersonal problems, and we're not spending so much time with just the banter, because when you have that kind of banter and the uncomfortableness of getting to know each other on the journey, it creates a coziness. And one problem that I continually have, to my dismay, is I don't like cozy books. Even though The Devils is like, I mean, just look at the cover. It's obviously not marketed as like cozy fantasy. Like, there's a lot of action and there's some gore and things like that. And even with that balance, it wasn't saving it for me. Coziness ruins romance novels for me. This is why there was one romance novel I recently-ish picked up. It was actually indie published, and I was excited to support it, and I thought it sounded really good, but like, it was like a paranormal romance, but it was heavier on the romance than the paranormal, and it had that super, super cozy vibe, and I just didn't like it. And, which is so silly because I like cozy movies. I don't know why I don't like cozy books. It doesn't make sense. I had this issue, oh my gosh, you guys remember my 5-star predictions vlog where I ended it with The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers? And I didn't like it. I was so mad that I didn't like it because I was so sure that I would. I love science fiction. I love a reflective sci-fi. And I bought the whole series, and I bought the UK covers because they were stunning. I had the whole thing and I didn't get past the first book. And there's nothing that Becky Chambers did that was remotely bad. Like, it was a genuinely good book with interesting science fiction elements, interesting characters, like a really heartwarming quality to it. And I can totally see why people love that, because I feel like you don't get that heartwarming, cozy feeling from a lot of science fiction novels. And the thing is, I can't 100% put my finger on why I don't like this element, and why I like not a single one of these books that I've tried that are cozy, none of them can really redeem themselves. The only thing in my life that I've liked that's even close to having cozy elements is Harry Potter, but let's be real, there was a lot of suspense from chapter to chapter. There was a lot of mysteries to unravel and things like that. So, and I feel like the only thing that was particularly cozy about it is the fact that it was targeted towards kids, and you had that like magical school atmosphere. I don't know. Like, I literally don't know. I'm talking out of my butt right now because I literally don't know why I don't like this, and it's kind of frustrating. You know, maybe I find books that are a little heavy on the cozy and the banter to just be meandering, and that might make a little bit of sense for me because, I mean, as a writer, I'm a plotter, not a pantser, and I feel like a lot of my favorite authors are plotters and not pantsers. And so if you're not sure what those terms mean, authors that pants their work, they are flying off the seat of their pants. They might have an idea for like the general scenario that they want to write about, maybe some ideas about the characters, a few plot points, but for the most part, they just be writing. Like, there's not really like, it's not like they sat down and wrote an outline. You know, I'm an outline girly, and I notice that a lot of my favorite books have that strong sense of plot, and I feel like I always have this larger sense of where we're going, even amidst twists and turns. And I feel like for some reason, I really like that. And I don't think you get that as much in the more like cozy things. But then I do know where we're going, kind of. See, maybe I like my books to the point. And that might explain why I don't know, I like a lot of short books. I mean, I like a lot of thick books. But like, I don't know, what's a thick book that I like? Okay, the thickest one, Stephen King's The Stand. Definitely meandering, but I feel like each of the moving parts, you're feeling the tension, and you have this greater sense that this is all building up to something the entire time. It's like you're not spending time with these different characters and their conversations. It doesn't necessarily feel like a breather all the time. Maybe. I don't know. That's why I made this video, because I don't know. But the thing is, as frustrating as this is to me, because nobody, like, no normal person wants to pick up a book to hate it. Unless you're hate reading, which I understand is a sport in itself. But you already anticipate that. But, like, if you are picking up a book because you genuinely think you're going to like it, it's disappointing already when it's not, and you know why. But I feel like it's even more crazy when you don't. But I feel like at the end of the day, I'm grasping at straws to really understand why I don't like genuinely good things just because they have a cozy element. I'm really, really struggling with that. And I think that maybe there doesn't need to be some big grand reason for everything that we dislike. Because I think we can all be mature enough to understand just because you don't like something doesn't mean it's bad. Because again, a lot of people say this type of thing where it's like, you know, this wasn't for me. I don't want to detract other people from picking it up because it has a lot of good qualities. Or I think this book is technically good, it just didn't vibe with me. Like, I think we can all do that to some extent. I think that it's a lot easier to comprehend when we have that clear-cut reason even still. Like, even if it's something like not liking the genre. So, like, I don't usually get enjoyment out of reading romance. I don't generally get as much enjoyment reading high fantasy versus urban fantasy. And keep in mind, like, I like romance as a subplot. Like, you have a big fantasy series and there's, like, a romance subplot, or a sci-fi book and there's a subplot. Like, yeah, that's fine. But, like, just the genre romance, I don't know why. I don't really gravitate towards it. Now, granted, a lot of people might not understand, though, that they just don't like the genre. And that's how you have people kind of crapping on a lot of the commercial fiction genres, like romance and horror and things like that, as being, like, trashy. Even though, like I said, those of us that are a little more sophisticated, we know that sometimes you just don't like a genre, and it doesn't mean that that genre is lesser. It means that when you're reading books, you're not looking for what that genre offers. And that's okay, right? But sometimes we get into situations, like me recently with The Devils, where it's just really hard to pin down. I think that we have to just, like, live with that a little bit, right? Like, it's okay that we don't like everything. And it's okay that we don't 100% understand why we don't like it. And, I think maybe even so, like, I think that in a way, it might seem like if someone dislikes something but they're struggling to figure out how to justify it, it might seem like, oh, we just don't know how to understand or analyze literature. And it's like, all right. And so this is the part of the video where I do wave around my master's in English. Actually, I don't know where my degree went. I could wave it around, but I think it's in a box somewhere. I didn't get a frame for it yet. Oops. But anyway, we could do that. But honestly, I almost feel like the more you know how to analyze something, the harder it can be to really understand why you don't like something, because it creates a situation with The Devils. I can look at this. I can objectively say, like, I think that the writing is really good. I think that the characters are good. The plot is cool. The world is cool, and that can, again, add to that frustration. Like, listen, I've analyzed this book. I've looked at all the different traits of literature here, and I don't really see a problem with it, so why am I not having fun? Anyway, so maybe we just don't need to think about it so much. Maybe we need to think a little bit less sometimes. Maybe we just need to touch some grass. Maybe we don't need to analyze this to death. Hi, Oreo. She's meowing. Yeah. Anyway. Let me know in the comments today if this has happened to you before, where, like, you are reading something, maybe even watching something or listening to something, and you're like, I don't see a problem with this, but I don't like it. I want to know what those things are. Spill the tea. We'll yap about it, and we'll all be confused together. All right, I will see you guys next time. I hope this ramble rant was worth your time. Maybe you can relate. Maybe, I don't know. But anyway, I hope that you're all having a great day, and I'll see you again next time. Bye!